Greetings, Alnadi viewers. I am very happy to have with me today Dr. Ahmed Erdogdular. This interview was really planned for some time. Finally, we have the chance to make it. Hi, Dr. Ahmed. I'm very happy to meet. I'm going to discuss with you a lot of good stuff with our viewers today that will expand across many topics related to music, life experiences, masters, and much more. So let's start with the beginnings. Let me know about your encounters of life, encounters of music.
Yes. First of all, again, thank you very much for having me. I was born into a musical family, as you might know, or everybody might know that. My father is a master ney player in Turkey, Ahmet Erdogdular, and my mother is an illumination artist and who specializes in miniature. I grew up listening to the best music from my childhood. My father started teaching me ilahis first, hymns, Turkish hymns, Sufi hymns. Uh, Almost every night after dinner, he would play the frame drum and teach us. Me, my sister, my mother was practicing with us also. I have hundreds of ilahis in my memory from that time. He used to teach Ney in our apartment every Friday evening. Before I go into details, I wanted to mention that my father is a jeweler and he can craft unique earrings, bracelets, and rings from scratch. And as a skill he learned from my grandfather. He was a jeweler too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how it all was this started? Like from the beginning, you started to learn music, or it's a must? We have to do anyways, by nature. It's like the mother tongue, right?
Music, yes. I mean, it was like that for me, and more for my father also. My grandfather was a musician too. He was a jeweler, but he was playing ney. He used to. I've never seen him playing, but he had a beautiful voice. Like every morning, he was chanting Quran after morning prayer. He had a beautiful voice. And basically my father started ney from him, is his father. So it's kind of like a family tradition. And
What about like ankles and other instruments?
yes, we had tambur in my grandfather's home, but I never touched that because it was they were holding it on top of shelf, so it was hard to reach for me. I never touched that. And but I used to play my father's without him noticing that I was playing his ney while he was in at the shop in Grand Bazaar. Uh, so he's there since 1960s.
Uh-huh.
He used to work with my grandfather, and then he took it over from grandfather, and he's still continuing there with my brother as a jeweler. And yeah, while he was at work, I was trying to reach the sound. I reached the sound, and I was trying to imitate him because every night he was practicing ney when he was back from work, and I was imitating, trying to imitate him. Yeah.
Interesting. And what is so special for having a master at home? Like people could go to classes, could go to Meşk, gatherings, but you have the master at home, which is
Yes.
like 24 by 7. Even in the shop, I guess the music is there.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, 24/7, I can say that 24/7, we
yeah.
were listening to those master singers, master instrument players, and at my father's shop and at home, and all the masters were visiting my father, and like a few days a week,
Yeah.
uh, like the best musicians were gathering in our apartment, such as İhsan Özgen, and sometimes Errol Deran joined them, kanun player Errol Deran.
Yeah.
And years after became my teacher, Haldun Ersin, tambur player Haldun Ersin, and he used to work for state choir and as a tambur player. He became my teacher, and he used to come to those gatherings and such people. And my father used to teach every Friday evenings,
Yeah.
and it was like a college. Our apartment was like full of young music enthusiasts and trying to learn ney, because in my childhood there were not so many places where you can go and learn music, especially ney. It's like kind of like a spiritual instrument
Uh huh.
which you can't play everywhere. I mean, used to.
Yeah.
And there were not so many teachers taught this instrument in 1970s, my childhood, 70s, beginning 80s.
Uh huh.
My father had sometimes 20 college students in our apartment, and every Friday my mother was cooking them nice cookies, and non-stop tea was going in the living room. I mean, it was a pleasure time.
Yeah. It's a school at home, huh?
Yes, I was like I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, and saw these gatherings. And my father took me a few of home gatherings also. Cahit Gözkan, I don't know if you heard his name. He was a musician and he was a businessman. But every Sunday he was gathering people in his house. And I've been there a few times, and there were many others in the 60s, but somehow they all disappeared. Those gatherings, special home gatherings,
Yeah.
where Niyazi Sayan was attending, and like all the other musicians were attending. Cahit Gözkan himself was a good oud player, and he was a good collector also. Like he collected a lot of music from the past,
Yeah.
and he notated them. Yes, I
So
have been those also.
interesting. I will go to the gathering again, but before that, was your father doing these gatherings only on Fridays or sometimes every day? What are the like the slot of time that this gathering happens?
So this was happening mostly on Fridays. And like after dinner, people were starting coming, and they were, I mean, he was picking a piece and showing them how the uh, intonation works for that piece, or the accidentals, or if that is a special makam, he was showing them how that makam works. So
Yeah.
whole night, like they would start 7 o'clock in the evening until like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I mean, they were not playing 2 o'clock in the morning, but he was talking about the music and his memory from those gatherings, because he met with a lot of master musicians, also literature people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now, having this happen into an apartment, even if it is not 2 a.m., the neigh is very loud, isn't it?
Loud, yeah.
Yeah, so I
Especially
want.
like if there is 20 nays, and if there is two nays, it's so difficult to do like intonations.
Yes.
Imagine like 20 of them in the same room. Some of them have had different tuning nay. Like they were playing, let's say, I don't know, like kız ney, or they
Yeah.
were, he was playing müstahsen, for example.
Yeah. I mean, no problems with the neighbors.
No, neighbors were very happy. I mean, they sometimes when my father was sick, he wouldn't be able to play nay, and our neighbor once, I personally heard that saying that, are you sick? Because I didn't hear you playing last night. And my father said, yeah, I was sick. I couldn't. Please play. That makes me so relaxed. I can sleep like a baby.
Wow. Wow. And was that only in the apartment or there were other places together? Like other houses, or he was teaching only in the apartment or some other place?
I mean, he was teaching in an institute, and then he started doing that in our apartment. For years, he did it, and
Is
like
it?
all his students were from somewhere else, not just from Istanbul. Uh, people came from all over Turkey, all over the Turkey, to study at the university, Istanbul University, Marmara University, whatever, and they practiced like studied chemical engineering or like whatever, and they went back to their city, and some of them uh, built an institution, and they started teaching uh, Ney in their city.
Uh huh.
There is one of his students from Erzurum. He created an institute, and with that they got award because he taught uh, his kid, and then his nephew, and then other students, and he built an orchestra in Erzurum.
Wow. Wow. They are
Yes.
spreading the word, like a pandemic now.
Yes, yeah.
An A pandemic. Yeah. And you told me once that he was teaching in the Kanuni Haji Arif Bey house. That was some time, right?
Yeah, I mean it's almost been 20 years. He started there because he has quite a lot of students, and they were not able to fit in a small living room. And time changed also. Our neighbors changed. And in my childhood, in 70s, Istanbul was small, not this big.
Yeah.
And I mean, population wise.
Yes.
And and people are not that happy to listen like this kind of music, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's why they offered him to teach there. They built an institution, they renovated the house of Kanuni Hacı Arif Bey.
Yeah.
There are two Hacı Arif Bey. One is like the, the older one, and this one is a Kanuni Hacı Arif Bey,
Yes.
father of Zeki Arif Ataergin,
Mm.
who was a good singer and a composer. Was a composer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. Now let's move to the gatherings. I think you have a lot to say about the gatherings from H5 going forward.
Yes. In early 80s, a group of musicians were practicing Mevlevi ayins in one of my father's old friends' house.
Yeah.
And my father took me there a few times also. I had the chance to meet renowned singers such as Kani Karaca and Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin. I met with Recep Birgit, and there was Hafız Kemal Tezergil, who was a composer also, who composed Ayin, Mevlevi Ayini. And so I had this opportunity to meet them. I was very young. I mean, I wasn't aware of who they were. And then after a year or two, I realized that, oh, they were this person.
Yeah.
I was listening to their music all the time.
Yes. Interesting. So this is part of the very early days where you were being built as a musician. It's very important to know, like, those gatherings, for example, you mentioned Niazi Sain house, private lessons, that your father used to go there and then sometimes take you with him.
Yes.
Tell me about these gatherings before we go to the later age of instrument selection and conservatoires.
Yes.
Tell me about the
So,
gatherings first. Yeah.
yeah, gatherings. As I mentioned, my father was taking me those gatherings. I guess he wanted me to get into music more and
Yeah.
listening those best musicians. So Niyazi Sayin is his teacher since 1966. Yes, my father started very early. I mean, his father sent him to İleri Musiki Cemiyeti. That was in Fatih, in Istanbul, Fatih,
Yeah.
and they were gathering once a week, and their conductor was Teoman Önal'dı. Teoman Önal'dı. Years after he became a conductor for İzmir State Choir. And he was like very young, and he was embarrassed to play ney, and he joined with his singing actually, and then they said Ümit Gürelman is coming and playing for them for the concert, and he was like very excited to meet him, and he heard he's gonna come that day, and he was practicing ney to show him, and to impress him, to teach him. And he said, he was playing, and then Teoman Önal'dı heard this, and then he got into room. Who played ney? He said nobody. He hid the ney behind him. Nobody.
Yeah.
And he said, but I heard ney. Somebody was playing here. Is there anyone else? No, just you. You are playing that. He said, yes. So we need ney player. Why don't you play ney? And then that's how he started. And he started learning from Ümit Gürelman, ney player Ümit Gürelman. And he was a student of Niyazi Sayin.
Yeah.
After a few weeks, he said, I'll ask him if he agrees for me to bring you to his private home lessons. I will take you there. Oh, he was so excited. And then Niyazi Sayin said, okay, I'll listen to him. And then he started like in 1966.
Interesting.
So their relationship is like more like a friendship than teacher student. And yeah, I mean their interests are the same. They and their musical taste
Yeah,
is the
interesting.
same.
And then, at,
And then he was taking me to his apartment in Üsküdar. They had a house like a 2-floor house and a big living room, as I remember as a child. And he was always playing music in his gramophone, you know, those LP players,
yes, yes,
masters of voice.
yes.
At that time, again, you know, I was so small to understand what that music was, but I guess that memory stays with you,
Exactly.
and after certain years, that memory comes back to you. That memory never leaves you, stays with you,
Yes.
and that shapes your knowledge and your taste and your understanding of music. And their talk also was so impressive for me. I still remember they were talking about Mevlana, you know, Rumi, and those stuff are still in my memory.
Yeah. And it's beyond just practicing a piece. They are talking about everything, maybe also tea.
Definitely, definitely, yes, yes.
Their memories with their masters, their memories with, or maybe the way they experience makams or pieces, or isn't it?
Yes. So that comes from my father. And he always loves his teachers' music. He never puts himself in front. And I saw Niyazi Sain also. He always mentions his teacher, Halil Dikmen. Uh, I mean, that's it's respect. Respect your music. Respect your teacher.
Yeah. So you mentioned those masters. I think the same with Najdat Yashar. Maybe they were mentioning Masood Jamil. They were mentioning Jamil Bey for sure every day, many times.
Yes, I met Necdet Yaşar years after I knew Niyazi Sain because my father was going to his private gatherings and he was taking me. And he was meeting Necdet Yaşar, but I mean, I've never had a chance to sit down and talk to him until certain age.
Yeah.
And also, a few times my father took me to Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin's house to for the Bayram celebration. I kissed his hand, but I was small,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
yeah, but I knew them from recordings. My father was listening to their music all day long, and
Wow.
he was practicing. Yes.
Interesting. So what happened after that? Like after this early age, what happened to you?
So after this early age, my father saw an interest in me, and then he started uh, giving me different stuff. Okay, he was teaching me ilahis, and uh, my grandparents, both sides, mother side and father side, uh, were like to like. I mean, kind of pushing me to sing for them, and they were encouraging me. Oh, it's so nice. Oh, blah blah blah. And then when they go to visit their relatives, and they were making us singing.
Uh-huh.
It was embarrassing for me at the beginning, and then I get used to it. Okay, it's kind of like daily routine stuff, like washing your face, washing your hands. It becomes like your daily routine,
Yeah.
and that I realized that after years, and that helped me
Mm-hmm.
to sing in front of like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Uh, when I go to stage, I don't feel any
Fear.
embarrassment or like
Mm-hmm.
fear. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, what happened after that? Did you start learning officially, or you continue
yeah. I
to
was
study at
mentioning that.
home? Yeah.
Yes, so years and years, uh, before this technology
Mm-hmm.
comes
Mm-hmm.
to the world, we didn't have YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have internet,
Yes.
and even my father's time, they didn't have even like a cassette player. It was so hard to find,
Mm-hmm.
and he gathered a lot of music from Niyazi Sayin, from other teachers, from his friends, like recordings of Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Niyazi Sayin, Necdet Yaşar played a lot of instrumental pieces. And then İhsan Özgen joined them in 19, like end of 70s.
Yeah.
And a lot of like those old recordings from 1900s, beginning of 1900s,
Yeah.
such as Hafız Sami, Hafız Kemal, Hafız Osman, Hafız Yaşar, a lot of like those old singers, Radife Erten, Meral Uğurlu. We had lots of cassettes at home, like hundreds of them.
Yes.
And then once he gave me a recording of I don't remember Bekir Sıtkı or Alaaddin Yavaşça, and he told me pick a song from this cassette, like double-sided cassette. It's like 60 minutes.
Yeah.
There are tens of songs. He said pick one you like and memorize it.
Yeah.
I picked one. I don't remember what was it, and I memorized it. It was so hard at the beginning. I mean, it's so hard to hear the lyrics because cassette is taken someone else, and that
Yeah.
someone else took it someone else. It's like bad recording.
Yes.
It's so hard to get the lyrics, and then after you write down the lyrics and you need to work on the melodies, you don't have I didn't have any scores,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was hard,
Yes.
and I didn't know how to read notation then. I was like, I don't know, 10, 8, 9, I don't remember how old I was. And I didn't know notation. My father didn't teach me notation until age of like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Once he told me, okay, it's time for you to learn notation. And he sat with me, like we spent 2 weeks. He pushed me so hard. I remember, like learning new language kind of thing. But it took me 2 weeks to learn it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So you memorized that piece from the cassette, the very bad
And
quality
then
cassette.
one follow another, one follow another. Maybe I memorized hundreds of songs from Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Alaaddin Yavaşça, Meral Uğurlu, and then Minor Nurettin Selçuk, and I mean he was giving me the lesson. I was kind of I started from the, I can say that, elementary school
Yeah.
with simple melodies, like ilahis are simple, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy to learn because there's a few lines of melody, and then you need to memorize lyrics.
Yes.
But the songs are getting harder,
The
and
short
then
ones.
there's more hard stuff to learn, like kar, for example, longer songs,
Yeah.
or beste, for example. It's very complicated. And then it's kind of like high school or a college degree, and then master degree is like, once he gave me Hafız Kemal, for example, and he said this is one of his best ghazals. That was Segah Ghazal. That was my first ghazal practice. That was so hard.
Okay.
Some songs I learned, a few listening, I memorized them. Some songs.
Yeah.
So easy. But
Yes.
studying ghazal was like, oh my God, forget about it.
Interesting. So now I see that you are going to the vocal and to singing, right?
Yeah, by the time I was studying Ney also.
Yeah.
But it was so difficult. Why? Because I mean, I go to shop to help my father, and we are coming back home together.
Yeah.
And then he was telling me, "Okay, go and work." I was going to living room, and they were sitting inside. Knowing that he can hear me is like very embarrassing.
Knowing that
And then, but I
he's the
practiced like
master.
two. Yeah, he's the master. So I practiced like 3 years,
Yeah.
and once he asked me, you're practicing ney and vocal. You need to pick one because it's like and blown ney. So you are blowing air. It's so difficult to practice singing, right? You can't. Impossible. So he told me you need to pick one profession, ney or singing. And because of that embarrassment and I said, okay, I'll practice singing. I focused on singing. I stopped playing ney. Then
That
I never played ney.
that was which year? This
When I
specific.
was, I don't remember, like 14,
That's the
15.
notation time.
Yes,
The,
yes, yeah.
the time of music notation. Yeah. So, but that's now the focus went to the vocal skill, to singing, to memorizing these pieces like degree after degree, as you have described. What about other instruments? I know you play tambour, you play other things. Was that?
I never
Yeah.
played any instrument rather than frame drum. Uh, I was always practicing my voice, trying to understand how to do ornaments from those master singers, how they use their voice, how they use the makam. Because notation is just a skeleton, I mean, to remind you the structure of the composition,
Yeah.
but doesn't show you how to sound that si bemol, uşak si bemol.
Yeah.
Doesn't give you any information about how to do mi bemol in hüzzam. So only chance to learn is listening to those master players such as like Tamburu Cemil Bey, like Mesut Cemil. Yes.
Interesting. So that's a limitation you discovered at the time of learning the pieces, that you always go to the records, you always listen to live performances in those gatherings.
Yes.
And just the skeleton is going to be maybe the lyrics and the skeleton of the way the melody goes, right? That was a
Yes.
limitation.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. But that gives you an opportunity to hear those correct sounds from the
Yes.
first hand. Otherwise, if my father would teach me notation at the beginning, I wouldn't struggle that much to learn from them.
Yes.
Then I would practice those accidentals not in a correct way.
You wouldn't sound like we
I
hear
wouldn't.
you today.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
So all the
interesting.
master teachers learn from a recording, or they had an opportunity to meet with Mesut Cemil, for example, Niyaz Sahin and Necdet Yaşar. They spent a lot of time with him, and he was a mentor to them.
Interesting.
And they had an opportunity to meet with like Yorgo Bacanos, Cevdet, Çağla.
Yeah.
I mean, but thanks God, I mean, we had an opportunity to meet them also.
Yeah.
We saw them. I'm so grateful to my father who
Yeah.
took me to their like house and
Interesting.
let
Very
me
interesting.
see them.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to enjoy some music with you now. What would you like to share with us?
I would like to sing a piece composed by Supi Ziya Özbekkan, and let me see, Supi Ziya Özbekkan in makam Uşşak.
We will enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for singing that to us.
Gücendi biraz sözlerime münfail oldu. Gücendi biraz sözlerime münfail oldu. Gönlüm niye incindi deyince gözü doldu. Gönlün niye incindi deyince gözü doldu. Uçtu yüzünün pembeliği, gül gibi soldu. Uçtu yüzünün pembeliği, gül gibi soldu. Gönlün niye incindi deyince gözü doldu. Gönlün niye incindi deyince gözü doldu.
Çok güzel. Allah Allah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, after this stage, like, what was the next step? Was it going to like official musicology school, or what was the track of education, track of learning instruments after
I
that?
mean,
Yeah.
as a learning stage, I was in the like an institution, a conservatory. So my father was like a mentor, and he was teaching me everything, and he was taking me those gatherings where I learned a lot of pieces. Actually, uh, earlier I mentioned that a group gatherings where I met Bekir Sıtkı, Recep Birgit, Kani Karaca, and such
All
and such
those.
and so on and so. And they were practicing Mevlevi ayins once a week or twice a week, and I learned a few ayins there, memorized them because those melodies were so catchy, and
Yeah.
it's so hard not to learn. I memorized them.
Yeah.
He was taking me those ceremonies at Galata Mevlevi Hanesi. Oh my God, I have such a good memory from that time. I still remember. I don't have that excitement now when I watch those Mevlevi ayins. I don't know, maybe I was so young, 8 years old kid, and first time seeing those whirling dervishes and music. Whirling dervishes is okay, but music was like amazing. Like İhsan Özgen is playing, my father, and Süleyman Ergüner, and like Erol Deran, and Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Kani Karaca. Imagine like he is singing, he was singing there.
For sure,
That
it's
was like
different.
magical moment. I was in heaven. I can't express my feelings.
Yeah.
I was in heaven.
Yeah.
That was so good.
So this
And
means
then,
you don't need to go to a musical school. You already
I mean, that was school. They were teaching
this
at the
is a school.
school, but I was there,
Yeah.
kind of like they were teaching me privately, right?
Yes, and in a
And
Meşk
my
format.
father, yes, my father started working for the state choir. The conductor was Nevzat Atlı, and
Yeah.
and they had a, they had concerts once every Friday. No, sorry, Sunday, every Sunday, and he was taking me there where I met Meral Uğurlu, Serap Mutlu Akbulut, and I mean it was so nice for a child seeing those musicians who you were practicing with is like such an amazing experience
Yeah.
for a kid.
Yeah.
Like seeing Tarkan, for example, like or I don't know,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. You practice with Michael Jackson, and your father takes you to his private gathering,
Yeah.
kind of like that. Yeah. So Bekir Sıtkı, Meral Uğurlu is Michael Jackson for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. So what did you study other than music? You went to which school?
Yeah,
What
I
specialty?
studied a
Yeah.
few years economics, business, because I was helping my father in Grand Bazaar
Yeah.
at the shop, and then my passion was stronger than my business side, and I stopped studying business. I started conservatory,
Okay.
and yeah, I first applied, and yeah, Niyazi Sain told me that okay, you need to write Ney. I applied to Ney, and then singing also, and I was accepted to both sides. I could go to study Ney or go to study singing.
Yeah.
I picked singing because that was my passion, singing.
Yeah.
But I joined Niaz science classes also. And yeah, my advisor was Alaaddin Yavaşça. I finished my bachelor's and then master's degree at Istanbul Technical University State Conservatory. And yeah, bachelor's, I wrote a paper about Tamburi Isak, who was a teacher of Sultan Selim III. And he was teaching him tambur.
Yeah.
And I analyzed his music, Gülizar suite. And my master's degree was about Hafız Shashi Osman, crossed-eyed Osman. I collected all of his recordings and notated them. And I wrote about him. And then I did my PhD at Istanbul University. Again, I widened my research area. I researched all the different kinds of improvisations. Yeah, my topic was like improvisation in music.
Yeah.
Because improvisation exists in almost everything, like theater and dance and music.
Interesting.
I researched on music side.
Yeah.
I researched like Turkish, mostly Turkish side. That was my topic, but also I included some Iranian improvisation and Arab improvisation and Indian, North Indian and South Indian. And I also did research early European music because they used to have an improvisation in their compositions. They used that up until Beethoven. Yes, Beethoven learned from Haydn.
Yeah.
He worked with Haydn, and I also researched about West Africans when they enslaved. They brought their music to United States. They were not able to do it, but they did it as blues. The music came out as blues. And they used also improvisation.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe we go into details in another interview about these studies. But before we conclude about this academic track, who did you meet there from masters and colleagues that you would like to mention? You mentioned Alaaddin Yavaşça.
Alaaddin Yavaşça is my advisor. And yes, and also I was born into his lap. Basically, he was, he passed away. Allah rahmet eyle. And he was a gynecologist, and he was a doctor. My mother's doctor.
Yeah.
So he was. The doctor, and then years later, he knew my father for years.
Yeah.
And then I became his student.
The world is small.
Yes. And İhsan Özgen, when I was at conservatory, İhsan Özgen was there too. He was teaching. And and also he was one of my father's friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of I had a lot of time with him, spent a lot of time asking him questions
Mm-hmm.
about makams and about pieces, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like him very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I worked a lot of pieces because my father and him, they had a group called Bosphorus. They
Mm-hmm.
built that group in 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
like mid 80s,
Yeah.
Bosphorus,
Mm-hmm.
and they were practicing also once a week. They were
Mm-hmm.
gathering, and where I was playing, he has two daughters. They
Mm-hmm.
became also musician,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine, Derya Turkan, I met him there in mid 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and we were playing together, and then we became friends, and we are doing music together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we work with same teachers, and we listen those master musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I guess we have the same feelings when we
Mm-hmm.
perform. So last
Yeah.
summer I performed with Derya in Istanbul, and Murat Aydemir was there
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm.
I mean, even if we do something rather than notation, we do in the same time and same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like one soul, huh? Or
Yes,
one
yes.
mixture. Yeah.
And
And
then years later, I had an opportunity to work with Kani Karaca.
mm.
Uh, they invited him to Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and I was accompanying him,
Mm-hmm.
and with my voice and my frame drum,
Mm-hmm.
and we were practicing once every Friday, every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking him from his apartment in Fatih
Mm-hmm.
and taking him to Kadıköy, like
Mm-hmm.
European side to Asian side, and then take him back to
Mm-hmm.
Fatih. And I spent like hours and hours listening to him, asking him
Mm-hmm.
questions. There are certain makams
Mm-hmm.
which are so close. It's so hard to understand the differences between them. And I
Mm-hmm.
asked those makams, and he said, "No, they are not even close. Not even close. This makam makes this, and but the other one makes this.
Wow.
And it was so pleasure moment.
Wow. Interesting. What about, for example, Salah ad-Din, Ijli, Ersoy,
Yeah,
Yorgo
Selahattin İçli.
Bajanus? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met Yorgo Bajanos that died years
Mm.
uh, before I was born, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, but you mentioned Salah ad-Din Ijli, for example.
Selahattin, yeah.
Yeah.
Selahattin İçli was at school. He was a gentleman, and he was a
Mm.
good teacher also. He was a composer, as you might know,
Mm-hmm.
and Sheriff İçli's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yes,
Mm-hmm.
and there was yeah. I mean, yeah, conservatory was
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
I liked him
Interesting.
much. I spent so much time with him, and he was telling me a lot of stories about musicians, about his teacher, for example.
Mm-hmm.
One of his teachers, was Zeki Arif Ataergin,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and So he was mentioning how they work with him, and what they worked. And Supi Ezgi, for example, Dr. Supi Ezgi, he used to live in Beykoz. Beykoz on the Bosphorus, like end of Bosphorus.
Yes.
And Alaaddin Yavaşça was in Istanbul in, I don't know, end of 40s or beginning 50s maybe. He was studying at the university, and he was going to study with him. And he said sometimes he wasn't feeling well, and he was offering me coffee. And he was going there all the way from Sultanahmet to Beykoz. It's like a long ride.
Yeah.
He was saying, "Okay, I don't feel well today. Drink your coffee and then you can go."
But this is the way they learned, huh? This is the way they were putting all the effort, all the hard work, and
Yeah, somehow I guess they were testing their interest or passion.
Yeah.
Because in the Mevlevihane, old Mevlevihane, the Mevlevi Lodge,
Yeah.
and they were giving a student unopened nay, like no holes,
Yes.
just reed,
Yes.
basically open reed.
Yeah.
And they were asking them to reach that kabaras, the the bassest sound, like
Yeah.
whoa, it's the hardest sound you can reach, hardest sound. And after they reached that sound, they were tuning the instrument. So they were testing you, how much passion you have to learn this instrument.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, now everything is easy. I guess that's why we don't have Tamburi Cemils now, or we don't have, I don't know, Mesut Cemil or Yorga Bacanos. Now everything is easy.
Yes.
It wasn't easy my time too. Now I live in New York. I didn't bring any notation because I can find everything online. I
Yeah.
didn't bring any recordings because everything is online.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now we have more chance to get access to information, to records, to travel.
Yeah,
to
everything
meet
is so easy
people.
now. Yes.
But people don't get use of this. I mean, let's
Yeah,
learn
I
to
mean,
listen
I
to
remember it was so hard to find Ney for my father. He was like looking around. There were not so many Ney makers, for example. There was one guy used to live in Tekirdağ, Yahya Bey, and he was making good nays, as I remember. And I don't know anyone else like in 1970s. But now, like instrument players, instrument makers, yeah, tons of,
Yeah.
hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing. I don't say it's bad thing. It's good thing, because in my, I mean, my father used to say that in his youth there was only like 7-8 professional ney players in, I don't know, in Turkey.
Yeah.
Niyazi Sayın, Aka Gündüz, blah blah blah blah, 7-8 counted, yes.
Yeah.
But now hundreds, hundreds, yeah. And good players also. Like there are good kemençe players, there are good tambur players, there are good singers. It's very promising actually for future.
Yeah. They should make use of whatever access we have today. Plenty of good stuff around us.
Yes, yes, yeah. I like that the music the youth is playing right now. They try to find like all recordings and trying to find the best resources. It's so nice. I like it.
Yeah, before we close this point, let's talk about the decision to go to New York, to the US. When did it happen? Why? And then what are you doing nowadays in New York?
I mean, it happened, and it was for good, I guess, and because I met with a lot of good musicians in New York and around United States, and I spread this music worldwide. I am teaching here, and I'm teaching in Europe, and my students are becoming a good Turkish music uh, enthusiast.
Interesting.
Yes, and I built an organization called Makam New York in 2011.
Yeah.
And I was a visiting scholar at Columbia University. That's how I came. And then I worked there with colleagues, good colleagues, and I did my first concert at Columbia University as well. They asked me to do Mevlevi Ayin. I performed their Beyati, Makam Beyati, Mevlevi Ayin in Makam Beyati. We had a whirling dervish also. Yeah, that was my first concert. And then I worked with a lot of good musicians and Turkish, American, and I made a good friendship. So Makam New York, we did our first Makam New York in 2011. We did our first workshop. I brought musicians from Turkey. And at the beginning, we didn't have so many students because we didn't have so much time to advertise. And then second year, we had quite a lot students from Brazil, Austria, Australia, and the year after, I included more musicians. So we had Iranian tombak player, we had Kanun, we had Oud, we had theory class, ney class, and singing class. Yes, and we got a lot of support from the Turkish side, and also especially from American side, American cities, New York City and New York State helped us to grow our organization. And we did concerts with those master musicians at the well-known concert halls such as Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, and Merkin Hall. I did a lot of concerts. Yeah.
Interesting. And you had a lot of groups and albums made during this time.
Yes. Yeah, I did two. I recorded two albums. One is Sufi songs. Another one is classical Turkish music songs. Yeah, I have a few more actually last year and the year before I recorded.
Yeah.
It's in process being published.
Do you want to mention some of the groups or the community? Describe the community that you have with you here.
I mean, I was in a group with Necdet Yaşar Necdet Yaşar Ensemble.
Mm.
And I had a great time with singing with Nurettin Çelik. Like 2 days ago, he passed away.
Yeah.
And he was a good singer. He had a great voice. And Necdet Yaşar was the leader of the group. And we went to Paris, France, Paris, and Versailles. We had a concert in Versailles. There is a chapel in the Versailles. And that was magical moments for me. And then the travel to Japan with Kani Karaca was also another thing. And we went to Vienna with Niyazi Sayin. That was magical for me.
Yeah. Interesting. And now here in New York, a lot of activities with this Maqam New York.
Yeah, Maqam New York is growing, and also we built a group at Rutgers University in Newark.
Yeah.
We do Middle East music, not
Yeah.
just Turkish music. We do Greek, Arab, and Turkish. Yeah.
Armenian.
Armenian, yes, yeah. I sang in Armenian.
Yeah, interesting. This is interesting. I think I will share some photos with our audience so they see some of these mentioned occasions with the masters, with Dr. Ahmed. And maybe it's time to enjoy something else with you.
Yes.
Do you like to share something with us?
Sure. So this time, I will sing a song composed by Minu Nurettin Selçuk in Makam Suzinak. I'm not sure, but in the notation they mentioned that this was his first composition. Durmadan aylar geçer, yıllar geçer, gelmez sesin.
Let's listen to it.
So I would like to tell you a little bit about Lauta. Lauta is kind of like grandson of oud. This is a mixed instrument, mixed with tambur and oud. It's like a oud body, but with the frets on it. It has longer fretboard, fingerboard, and with the frets.
aylar geçer, yıllar geçer, gelmez sesini. Durmadan aylar geçer, yıllar geçer, gelmez sesin. Hasretin gönlümde lakin kim bilir sen neredesin? Hasretin gönlümde lakin kim bilir sen neredesin? Sızlayan kalbim benim, ister misin her demdesin? Sızlayan kalbim benim, ister misin her demdesin? Hasretin gönlümde lakin kim bilir sen neredesin? Hasretin gönlümde lakin kim bilir sen neredesin? Allah Allah. Thank you. So, thank you very much actually for what you shared with us. Not to forget about your instrument learning and your experience with instruments.
As I mentioned earlier, I started with ney because my father is a ney player. Ney, we had lots of neys available at home,
Yeah.
and I was practicing myself, and then my father started teaching me, and I made some friendship from those Friday gatherings, and we were getting together and doing music together. And actually, very early age, 19, I can say like 80, 89, 90, in that period. I was very young then. And my father told me that his old friends from his youth, they gather together every Sunday in Cağaloğlu. There is that Sultan Mahmud's tomb. And that place, there is also a kind of salon where we gather. They were gathering, and I attended, and I liked it. And there were lots of young students like my age. And the conductor was Taşkın Savaş, one of my father's old friends. And I learned there like hundreds of new ilahis. And we did our first concert at the Aya Irini Museum. Aya Irini in Sultanahmet. And I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14. I did my first solo actually there. I sang the Segah Durak. Segah Durak. And that was my first solo piece. I learned that from Durakçı Kemal Baba. And Kemal Baba's son was with us too. He was singing also. Fahrettin, his name is Fahrettin. And his nephew Taceddin was there too. And Kemal Baba was a very well-known durak singer at Cerrahi Tekkesi. I've never met him. I learned from his recording. One of his performances. And that was my first piece. It was like Segah Durak and lyrics by Yunus Emre. Men bende buldum çün hakkı şek gümanımdır benim. And then I started tambur when I started conservatory because tambur was required instrument for singers. Tambur is, I can say, a piano for Turkish music. It has frets on it, and while you can play, you can see the accident and also accidental, and also hear it in the same time. It's like 2-3 things in the same time. You sing, you hear it, and you see it. That's very important. My teacher was Haldun Ersin. I mentioned his name. He's also one of my father's friends. And I studied with Haldun Ersin and Tamburi Abdi Coşkun. They both were my teachers at the conservatory. And after I came back, after I came to the United States, I brought my tambur, and I went to concerts with my tambur. I played and sang, and I had a concert at Wesleyan Conservatory where I met one of my students who wanted to learn tambur. And actually I made a tambur from scratch. I brought wood from Turkey for for soundboard, for fingerboard, and I brought everything, and I built it here, a few tamburs. And then I built this lauta, this like paduk and I don't know, cherry maybe. I built this one. Everything is made out of myself.
Wow. Did you have an experience of making instruments back
I didn't
home?
I didn't have any experience. I have a friend lives in Boston. Also, he's an artist. He's a musician also. He plays multiple instruments, ney, tambur, and he also builds instruments. His name is Feridun Özgören. Lives in Boston.
Yeah.
And I exchanged some ideas with him. And my father-in-law also helped me a lot with this. Yes, and my father also in my childhood, he built tambur, actually two tamburs, and he built kemençe. In 1970s, as I mentioned, in Turkey we didn't have so many instrument makers.
Yeah.
And he was an A player, and he heard İhsan Özgen. He fell in love to kemençe. He wanted to learn kemençe so badly, but there were no kemençes available. And he went to one of the makers, and he said, "I can make it, but it takes 2 years
Wow.
because he's so busy." Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, so many
Yeah.
orders.
Yeah.
And he said, "But I don't have that much time. I want to have it right now." He said, "No." He was like laughing at him. "No, you can't have it right now." And then he started building by himself. In my childhood, I remember they were making stuff with my grandfather.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually, how I started is I have an old tambur. So I was going to a concert, and accidentally it just fell where I hanged it. And the soundboard cracked from 2 places, and I had to fix it. And I fixed it myself. That's how I started. Okay, if I can fix this, maybe I can make it. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Ahmed, let's talk about what you mentioned earlier when you mentioned notation and skeleton. Let's talk about notation and interpretation. What's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah. So notation exists for a long time in makam music,
Yeah.
not just Turkish music, makam music.
Yeah.
How we know this is from old written books, such as Kindi, for example, Arab scholar Kindi,
Yeah.
and he wrote 2 books actually, and yeah, there is after Kindi, there are many scholars wrote about music, and they created notation based on Arabic script. They used
Yeah.
Arabic script to create notation.
Alphabet.
We call it ebced notation system. And like Farabi and Ibn Sina. After him, like there's Urmevi, Abdul Mumin Urmevi. And after him, there's this Abdul Qadir Meragi from Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
You know, Ladikli Mehmed A, such and such. They all created notation in 16th century or 17th century. Nai Kutbin Nai Osman Dede also created his own theory based on everything is based on this Kindi and Urmevi. Actually, Urmevi is the point of these musicians.
Yeah.
And Abdul Qadir Meragi actually, he developed Urmevi's work. But they never use notation widely.
Yeah.
We know, for example, Abdul Qadir Meragi notated many pieces, but that book is missing. We don't know where is that book. Yes. And he has like several books, Kenzul Elhan, Jamiul Elhan, Makasidul Elhan, and Kitabul Edwar. But that book is missing. We don't have that book. And we know that Nahi Osman Dede also notated a lot of pieces. And during this big fire in Istanbul, Mevlevi Hane, he used to live in the Mevlevi Hane
Yeah.
because he was a sheikh there. And the whole tekke burned down after him.
Yeah.
And his books are missing. Some of his books saved by Rauf Yekta. And those books passed to his grandson now. But that book was also missing. That he notated pieces. That book is missing.
Yeah.
And then in 18th century, Sultan Selim commissioned musicians to create new notation. A lot of musicians created new one, but they picked this Hamparsum Lemonjian's creation. He used Armenian script rather than Arabic script.
Yeah.
And that was so easy to notate and easy to read and easy to take those ornaments also. That's why they used that notation up until Republican Turkey.
Yeah.
And yeah, they started notating into Western style notation. I mean, I can say very recently.
Yeah. Because Ali Ufqi was not accessible widely, right? And he was writing
No.
from right to left.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until the Republic, then it became popular, the westernized notation.
Westernized, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, westernization, yeah, after westernization started,
Yeah.
everything turned that way. But then I realized, because I didn't learn notation until certain age,
Yeah.
I realized that notation limits musicians' ability to do ornaments, to sing flexibly.
Yeah.
That kills your flexibility, actually. When there is a notation, you need to follow that note. If you listen to old recordings with not very old, like Mesut Cemil played with his friends, Cevdet Çağla, or Refik Fersan's performances, for example. All the musicians are doing different kind of movements,
Yeah.
but the skeleton is the same. That is dead now, because everybody needs to follow the notation. Everybody plays the same do and nothing else. But there are exceptional musicians do it. A few, not so many though.
Yeah. And Dr. Ahmed, you have seen this in the community you lived, like with your father, with Niazi Sain, with Yashar, with these masters were doing this kind of interpretation and maybe variation amongst them with
Yes,
the
I mean,
unified skeleton.
that's why they became a master. Yeah, Niyazi Sain is definitely doing that. My father is definitely doing that. İhsan Özgen did it, definitely. Necdet Yaşar was doing it too. And they were all doing that. Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Kani Karaca, for example. his old recordings, those classical pieces he sang with Mesut Cemil and Niyaz Say, Necdet Yaşar. If you listen to those recordings, they are different than. I mean, I'm not talking about changing the notation. Even composers such as Münir Nurettin Selçuk, for example, he sang his song differently than notation.
Yeah.
Or Selahattin Pınar composed his very well-known piece in Makam Neva, for example. Ben yürürüm yane yane, aşk boyadı beni kane. He sang this song differently than the notation. So that means in the past we can't say, because some scholars are judging, there are so many variations in same composition.
Yeah.
Which one is correct? They all are correct, because composer taught this piece to his student, to his apprentice, right?
Yeah.
And each time he impressed his feeling differently. Ben yürürüm yane yane, aşk boyadı beni kane. Or he did it, aşk boyadı beni kane. So each time he did some different variations in his singing. For example, there is another piece. We have a notation composed by Nikogos Ağa, who was a student of Dede Efendi, İsmail Dede Efendi, Nikogos Ağa. In Makam Hicaz, niçin sevdiğim niçin, niçin sevdiğim niçin, aman aman seni sevdim, bu mu suçumtura. This is a version of Münir Nurettin Selçuk. He sang this song in this way. But the notation is niçin sevdiğim niçin, aman aman seni sevdiğim. So basic. The other one is richer.
Yeah.
It has a lot of colors in it. And then after years, I knew this piece by heart, and I sang this. We had a group called Lalezar, and I sang this piece, and we recorded this in a studio. And after years, they actually Kalam Music published all of İshak El Ghazi's work. And then where he sang this piece. Oh my God, it's completely different than what the notation is, and then what Münir Nurettin Selçuk sang this. So he's starting this. Niçin sevdiğim niçin, aman seni sevdiğim, bu mu suçumtur. But you feel it the same skeleton.
Yes.
Instead of he's niçin. It's kind of like singing gazelle.
Yeah.
Ahın için sevdiğim niçin aman. So notation, yeah,
It
put
shouldn't.
limits into this.
Yeah, we should be careful with that, right? And I notice a lot of young generation singers in Turkey today. They are like maybe singing the same thing. They either follow one version, or maybe I don't know how they learn these pieces, or maybe they learn them so quickly. I
Yeah,
don't
I
see
mean,
what you mentioned now. I don't see
yeah,
anything of what you mentioned now.
all the way. I mean, at the beginning, I mentioned that my father taught me like elementary school and then middle school, high school, and this and that.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't learn only classical songs. I learned everything, like Mevlevi Ayin, and then I learned uh, how to chant Quran, how to be a muezzin, and then ilahis, those drugs. Drug was a form in Turkish classical music, uh, which performed during the zikr. That form
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. So there is no one sings durak. Kani Karaca, and as I mentioned his name, Durakçı Kemal Baba, and they passed away, and durak form durak is gone
Yeah.
because it's a different form. It's not song form. It's not ilahi. It's not a ghazal. Different form. Was a different form.
Yeah.
And
But we have you today, so you can revive it. It needs its own context, right? And maybe setup.
yeah, I worked also with Üsküdarlı Ali Efendi. I have to mention his
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
Üsküdarlı Ali Efendi. I memorized a lot of things from him. I memorized Mevlid, for example. Mevlid is a lot of Mevlids written by poets. It's about Prophet Muhammad's life from
Yeah.
beginning to the end,
Yeah.
and this one particularly written by Süleyman Çelebi, and there are very strict rules to sing this piece. In the past, used to be composed, and then that composed piece forgotten during years. But we have several handbooks written by several musicians saying that which maqam certain parts should be,
Yeah.
how which maqam it starts, which maqam like modulates into which maqams, and then which maqams ends with.
Yeah.
And one of the best Mevlid singers was Üsküdarlı Ali Efendi. And then after him there was Hafız Mecit Sesigür. I learned a lot of Mevlids from him. Hafız Mecit Sesigür. And
Yeah.
then there was another man, Esat Geredeli. I memorized Mevlid from him too. Yeah, so I was sitting down and trying to memorize ما خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إلا بالحق وأجل مسمى. I'm not Hafiz, but I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
Because in singing, vowels are so important. Not just the technique of using your head voice or your chest voice or combining them. This is okay, one part, it's a technical part. But there is another important part for Turkish music is to use those vowels in a correct way. When you say ah, it needs to be ah. When you say eh, there are certain different A's, for example, in literature.
Yeah.
So this is another technique I learned from these teachers. I discovered by myself. And I was working on those ghazals, for example. I discovered that they used a meter as their melodies, in their melodies. So when they create melody, they don't just sing, okay, whatever they come, whatever they learn from teacher. No, there's a rule to do it.
Yeah.
So you can't do ghazal without knowing meter. Like fa'ilatun, fa'ilatun, fa'ilatun, fa'ilun. This long and short syllables, you need to use those in your melody. It's kind of like composition.
Yeah.
You are doing your composition in that moment. And you don't have a chance to erase that part and recreate it. Once you made it, it's done.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to have a huge knowledge of theory, makam. To do makam, know makam, you need to know a lot of pieces by heart. Like if you are doing ushak, you need to know at least like hundreds of ushak songs, ilahis, songs, and ayin. As much melodies as you know, as much ghazal as you can do. Like if you don't have a material to work with, so you can't build anything. You can't build an instrument, right?
Yeah.
You have an instrument,
Yeah.
you build it, but you don't have strings to put on. How are you gonna play it? So everything is related. So literature is related to your melodies. I mean, in an instrument, it's easy because you can show all your ability like fast or your knowledge on your instrument.
Yeah.
But on singing, on top of all of these, there's another thing, literature. You need to know literature.
Yeah. But Dr. Ahmed, this is very important. Listen to those who sing as well as those who play, because at the end, this music will reflect in their instrument. If they don't know these things,
Exactly,
it will be
yes.
clear. They will be nakedly doing some
Exactly.
mechanical work.
Yes. So, like people were coming to study with my father. First thing he was asking, how many songs do you memorize from like Bekir Sıtkı and Minur Nurettin, Kani Karaca? Or if he or she was trying to learn ney, he was asking them if they know Naat, Naat-ı Mevlana, Naat Rast Makam, and composed by Mustafa Idri.
Yeah.
Idri.
Yeah.
And do you know this piece? Did you practice with Kani Karaca? Because we have only recording of him
Yes.
from the past.
Luckily, we do.
Luckily, yes, yes.
Yeah, interesting. So this is really a great lesson. Now, we talked about your learning experience. right? But this will reflect in your teaching. How do you teach today? Do you re-bring the same context to your students and to the community around you when you teach?
I teach, however, I learned from my father and from his lessons, how he was teaching to his students. So I am taking a piece and working with that. After we are confident that we know that piece well enough, then start working on details. For example, this is so important. I worked this for years
Yeah.
just for this saying Oh, oh, oh. This part is important. However you start, then the rest is gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Niçin, so important.
Yeah.
Those vowels are so important too.
Yeah. And for sure, there are certain ornaments that are acceptable in this mother tongue and this language and this
Yes.
authentic way of singing versus whatever random things that we can make with our voices
Yes.
or our instruments.
So, as in Arabic, like vowels are so important, or in chanting Quran, for example,
Yeah.
and everything is measured. You need to extend your melody in certain time period. You can't do it longer, or you can't do it shorter, for example,
Yeah.
to not to change the meaning, right? And it's same in music too. So those vowels are so important. Those ornaments are so important. If you do like a few vibrato more than it should be, then you are killing the whole structure of that composition. You can't do whatever you want. Everything is like measured.
Yeah.
Everything is in math.
Yeah. So
Yes.
basically, in teaching, you teach in the same style of what
Same
we have
style, yes.
understood from the previous discussion on the Meşk and the gatherings and
Yeah, Meşk,
when
yes,
we
yes.
master a piece, we know it. Then we go in details and we go into these intricate advices, the way we perform. We say the message of music. We carry the
Yes,
message
yes.
of music.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is, as Niyaz Sain told me once, it's a group work. This Meşk system is a group work
Yeah.
where you say same thing to same different levels of students, but everyone gets their part, their share,
Yeah.
based on their level. Okay, I can play them Tamburi Cemil Bey, but based on your level, you can hear certain things, but you will hear the others once you come to that level. We can't expect a beginner to hear everything, right?
Yes.
But we worked in the same classroom all together. Everyone gets their share. Like
Interesting.
they can get as much as they could.
Interesting. I do remember in my interview with Christus Barbas, he mentioned your father, his master, and he said his father said a very important statement once. He said, if the master is not giving more of his playing or his performance to his students, then there is no learning here. If there is a class that we hear more from the student than the master, then this is not going to work. It should be the master more time, because they will listen to the right note, the right expression, the right material going from the master to them, right? This is very interesting, really. And maybe people miss this point. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
Do you want to mention your experience with your father in those workshops you did in Greece, you did in Europe, maybe in New York? Do you want to mention your part, your way of support, your way of participating actually in those sessions? Just memories and
I mean,
reflections.
not me. My father supported me a lot everywhere.
Yeah, but
And
you were with him, right? You were accompanying him.
I was, yes, yeah, that's how I started. So in Istanbul, uh, I was attending his uh, classes
Mm-hmm.
in Istanbul uh, with my singing.
Mm.
Basically, I was singing
Mm.
while they were playing,
Yeah.
and then he was always mentioning to his students, singing is very important to
Mm-hmm.
become a good uh, instrument player.
Mm-hmm.
And because you need to understand first what to do in your singing,
Mm-hmm.
and your body needs to absorb, and then you can transfer it to your instrument, ney, tambur, kemençe, whatever you are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, yeah, I was attending, and then we traveled
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm.
We came to United States before I moved to United States. Actually, we came together.
Yeah.
And we taught a few days in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And then after years, I went to Chile and Argentina to
Mm.
teach.
Mm.
I was teaching, and I mentioned this. Uh, we have 5 time prayer times. Okay, five: morning prayer, noon
Yeah.
prayer, and each prayer perform in different makam.
Mm.
Morning prayer is usually sabah, makam sabah.
For the
Afternoon this, blah
call.
blah blah, Uşak, Hijaz, and
Azan. Yeah.
yeah, the akşam, like evening prayer is in dugah.
Mm.
They don't know dugah now; they do sagah instead of dugah.
Mm.
Anyway, and I said, when I was volunteer
Mm-hmm.
volunteered in Istanbul, in Grand Bazaar, there's a mosque called Nur Osmaniye Mosque.
Mm-hmm.
Imam was retired, and Muezzin
Mm-hmm.
asked me to do like Muezzin parts while he was leading the prayer. And I said, okay. And he had a beautiful voice. Necati Yaman. His name is Necati Yaman.
Mm-hmm.
In Argentina, I mentioned his name.
Yeah.
One of the students, he was like 18.
Mm.
And one of the students told me, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was an Argentinian. He wasn't Turkish.
Yeah.
And he was learning Turkish music
Mm-hmm.
for a year.
Yeah.
I told him, how come do you know him? Yeah, he's a muezzin, one of Istanbul's mosques. And he's not very well known.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a beautiful voice. And he said, I was searching online. I saw him on YouTube, one of
Mm.
his azan.
Yeah.
And wudu, not wudu. Anyway,
Mm.
and he said he didn't have enough money, and his friends gathered enough money to buy his ticket and him to stay in a hotel a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent him to Istanbul to meet this guy.
Mm.
He met him, but actually he didn't. He didn't meet him. He recorded him because he was ashamed. He didn't know English. He
Yeah.
didn't know Turkish, and the Necati doesn't know any English. Also,
Mm.
he listened to him a few days. Every day
Yeah.
he was going there recording him, and then he went back to Argentina. After I talked to this guy, I went to Istanbul,
Yeah.
told the story to Necati Yaman
Himself. Yeah.
himself, and he started crying.
Mm.
Yeah, he was so emotional. Like someone in Argentina, all the way in Argentina, knows him
Mm-hmm.
and likes him, and he came all the way to Istanbul just to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big thing for a musician, and
Yeah.
yeah, I have this kind of stories.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the workshops you did everywhere, like in Argentina, in Europe, right?
Europe, yeah, we did a lot of workshops in Austria, also in Vienna.
Mm. Yeah.
Vienna. We did
Mm-hmm.
since my father was teaching
Mm-hmm.
every once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and I was attending those.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started teaching to. There's a very special department for
Mm.
becoming a very specialized imam
Mm.
in Istanbul,
Yeah.
and the dean of that institute called my father to teach them
Mm.
makams.
Yeah.
And once a week also he was going there to teach those special uh, imams.
Mm-hmm.
He taught them a few years, and I went with him together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they all become the head of some uh, religious departments,
Mm-hmm.
and one became a lead imam in Blue Mosque. Another one is in Süleymaniye Mosque.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And you told me, Dr. Ahmed, that your father, in his shop in the bazaar, he is always having his gramophone and music playing all the time, right? Or with Ney.
We didn't have gramophone then. We have only cassette
Tapes.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah, cassette player,
Yeah.
and but it was always on. So
Always on.
we were opening the shop 8 o'clock every day,
Mm.
except Sunday. Sunday, whole bazaar is closed,
Yeah.
and the music was on all day long. Tamburi Cemil or Münir Nurettin or Niyazi Sayin.
And the Ney,
And
for sure.
Ney, yeah, my father plays Ney in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the musicians are visiting him.
And
So
if
if you
people.
go to Grand Bazaar is a huge bazaar.
Mm.
Maybe you've been there.
Yeah.
Huge bazaar. If you ask him like Ömer Erdogdular, maybe no one will know him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say like the person plays Ney, everybody will bring you to our shop in Grand Bazaar.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ömer, like Neyzen
Yeah.
Ömer. Yeah, everybody knows him.
And as you told me, people will come from everywhere in the world to there to maybe ask for lessons, maybe to listen and
Yeah.
enjoy, and then maybe ask for a workshop somewhere else.
Yes. So
Yeah.
someone gave me a call years ago, 25 years ago maybe, and he said that he is a jazz saxophonist
Mm-hmm.
who teaches at the
Yeah.
Haliç University,
Mm-hmm.
teaches jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he wanted to learn Ney, and he heard my father, and he wanted to meet him. I gave him the address, Grand Bazaar, and number this, and it says this, Ömer.
Jadasi, whatever.
Yes, after a few hours, an American, I can see, an American guy walked by. And he came back again, but looking towards our shop, and but he didn't come in. He just passed. And then third time, I told him, "Come here. This is it." He said he was waving me. No, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I told him, "Come. This is it." And he came in. He said, "I'm not looking jewelry guy. I'm looking for a musician." I told him, "Okay, this is it. You're looking Ömer Erdogdular, right?" He said, "Yes, this is his shop." He was looking for a like music shop instead of jewelry shop.
Yes. Yeah. And we see a lot of students everywhere now. Yeah, I want to mention also the practice, how we practice this music. You mentioned the Meşk, the community, the way we learn pieces, singing wise, instrument wise. Is there something to summarize about what is a good practice? How do we practice this music to be proficient in playing a piece or singing a piece?
Yes, I mean, Meşk system is a good way to learn, but if you are far away, there is no other chance to work with recordings. It's so difficult to understand because you don't see, and the recordings are not so good also. Old recordings.
It needs training for people to get use
Yes,
of it.
but that's the best way. I mean, Meşk,
Yeah.
digital Meşk.
Yes, exactly. But for the actual mashk, do people work at their home or it's enough? The mashk setup is enough. They don't need to work at home alone on ornaments or maybe the way, as you said, you work on this thing for a long time to master it like this.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
this is an individual work, isn't it? It's not a group work.
individual work is everything. Yeah, individually, yes. Everybody needs to work individually. Yeah, I work 4 or 5 hours a day, still discovering new things which I never realized before. Uh, I mean, they need to create a world with those recordings to themselves
Yeah.
and live with this music, live with this style, and if you put you into that, if you jump in the water, then you can learn swimming. So
Yes.
you need to be in that environment
Interesting.
to
Interesting.
to be able to hear that better.
To live it, to comprehend, to reach the levels
Yes,
of discoveries every day. Because this music is not a little pieces or maybe like surface ideas. These are like very deep. It has a lot of things into it.
yeah. I mean, there is
Yeah.
this wrong idea of thinking imitation is not good. Everybody needs to be themselves. Like, I need to be Ahmet. But to become an Ahmet, you need to know. I mean, how we learn how to walk. We are imitating our parents. How we are
Yes.
learning how to talk. We are imitating our parents.
Yes.
So everything is imitation. Life is imitation.
Exactly.
After certain time, you become an Ahmet. Your behavior changes, and you have different understanding of anything. You become Ahmet.
Yeah.
But first, like all the rivers are going into the ocean, right?
Yeah. I see. Interesting. Yeah. So let's maybe touch into the projects. This is a very important thing. You mentioned a little bit about it, but let's talk about your projects, your activities, concerts, ensembles.
Yeah,
What
my
are
latest
yeah.
project was I brought two different genres together, makam and blues.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend. We are friends for long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a very well known blues clarinet player, jazz and blues,
Mm-hmm.
Evan Christopher,
Yeah.
and we worked so hard to put these two musics together,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked out very well. We had a concert at Columbia University's St. Paul Chapel, and second concert was at the Jazz Museum
Yeah.
in Harlem,
Mm.
and we had a great audience,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope to do more.
And there are always concerts there, or there are always activities for the Macam New York, right?
Yes, yes, yes, yes, yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I once I brought musicians from Turkey
Mm-hmm.
and Greece, and I found common songs in Greek,
Mm-hmm.
Turkish, Armenian,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Yeah.
sang those songs together
Mm-hmm.
with Onik Dikciyan
Mm.
joined us,
Yeah.
and we had such great musicians
Mm.
such as Ara Dinkçiyan, Yurdal Tokcan, Göksel Baktagir,
Mm-hmm.
Murat Aydemir,
Mm.
and Socrates Sinapoulos,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Dimos Papatzalakis came all the way from Thessaloniki.
Mm-hmm.
My father, my brother Ali Osman Erdogdular,
Mm-hmm.
and we played great music together.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. And you mentioned sometime you have podcasts, you have curated Turkish books brought to the US, Turkish
Yes, I mean
story
I
time.
did always first
Mm-hmm.
in United States. I did first Turkish music workshop in
Mm-hmm.
United States. I
Yeah.
started first,
Mm.
and then I did first classical Turkish music
Mm.
concert at Carnegie Hall,
Mm.
organized by Carnegie Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and they specifically asked me a certain period of Ottoman time,
Yeah.
music from that certain period.
Mm-hmm.
And I did first Turkish music concert uh, at Metropolitan Museum,
Mm-hmm.
opening of uh, Islamic Islamic department, Islamic history department,
Yeah.
and yes, and we had Turkish story time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a book culture called book culture, and they were organizing book readings in English to
Mm.
preschool kids,
Yeah.
and then we attended with my kids there, and
Mm-hmm.
then they started doing that in Persian,
Mm.
and I realized, oh, why we don't do it in Turkish then? And we researched what books are good for kids, preschool kids,
Mm-hmm.
and we brought a lot of books from Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
and we worked with a professional storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Once a week, we had a Turkish story time at Book
Mm.
Culture,
Mm.
and it worked out so well. sometimes 15 kids were joining us. Some of them, I mean, most of them were with Turkish families, but some of them were not Turkish.
Yeah.
They just wanted to their kids to hear different language, and they were bringing, and it
Interesting.
was so good. Yeah.
Interesting. So, how can you be accessed? Like, if somebody would like to collaborate with you, would like to maybe invite you for something.
Yeah,
Can you
Makam New
please?
York has a website. They can contact through website, and we have social media accounts. They can connect us through those. Yes.
And your albums, your work is accessible through which channel or place, or maybe
Yes,
YouTube channel?
my albums are on Spotify, and they can listen and they can purchase all in all social platforms.
Interesting. Dr. Ahmed, pick something to listen to from your work, something that you did previously, so we can share it with our audience. What would you pick for us?
Good question. I have a lot of recordings and, on YouTube,
Yeah.
but I would like to share with you that piece I sang with Onik Tikçiyan, which is in Turkish, Armenian, and Greek. It's a song, folk song from Diyarbakır. If you can play that one,
Yeah,
I
we'll listen
appreciate.
to it. We'll listen
Okay,
to it. And I thank you for this selection.
thank you.
But before we conclude, and for sure we will meet again, I'd like you to conclude this really great interview with you. What would you like to conclude it with?
I am very pleased to be on your program. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions. And what I suggest to musicians who wanted to learn Turkish music is listen to master musicians such as Tamburi Cemil Bey, Mesut Cemil Bey, Yorgo Bacanoz, Cevdet Çağla, Necdet Yaşar, Niyazi Sayın, İhsan Özgen, and Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Kani Karaca. These are the best musicians. There are many, like Meral Uğurlu. And once they learn pieces, work on them, details, small details, and that will help them to encourage, I mean, not encourage, realize more stuff.
Yeah, sure. This is a great advice, really. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thanks for the viewers. We'll meet again.